Hello everyone, welcome. You're listening to a brand new episode of The Millennial Athlete with Tanvi and Shlok, a podcast of, for and by the millennials. I'm your host Shlok Ramchandran.
And I'm your co-host Tanvi Lad. What's up, Shlok?
Nothing Tanvi, just had a good cardio session today. I absolutely burned the treadmill.
I know I saw your post, and I was going to comment that you're probably training harder than I am, which is something that should be mentioned.
Yes, absolutely. I was also actually going through my photos of the Hong Kong Open in 2017 and some of our memories with our seniors and one of them is actually on the podcast tonight.
Yep, very excited. Our dear friend and someone who's both of us have spent a lot of time with him in Hyderabad. None other than HS Pranoy. I think I'm running out of nicknames now. The Beast, the King of Backhand. Are there any more, Shlok?
I refer to him like the TikTok superstar. That was my nickname for him, which now becomes like the Reels superstar. Yeah, so everyone stay tuned. On the other side of the break, we have HS Pranoy with us. You're listening to The Millennial Athlete with Tanvi and Shlok. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're listening to The Millennial Athlete with Tanvi and Shlok. HS Pranoy is in the house tonight. Hi HS, how are you?
What's up, guys? Long time no see.
Absolutely, long time no see.
We've actually been seeing a lot of you on screen in the past month. Yes, live from the Thailand Open.
Yeah, not much because only few rounds I played, so I'm sure you didn't see me a lot. But but I think for other reasons you must have seen me on the social media for a very long time. So yeah.
Apart from the fact that we don't talk badminton a lot, we talk about finance a lot, which is kind of our side hobby. It is good for a change to discuss something about badminton. So just let me get straight into it. 12 months, almost 12 months out of competitive badminton.
Yeah.
How was the whole lockdown, and what specifically did you work on during these months? And do you think something has actually changed when you actually came back on court?
I think last 10 months have been pretty tough. I think mentally it has been very taxing. I think for each and everyone, especially for players, I think it's been even more tough because you don't have anything to prepare for, and there's a big vacuum, I would say, where with the motivation fact, I would say there's been a big vacuum. But as we said, I think I've been training at say hometown for last 7 months. I think from April to November I was training back home, and probably the longest stint I had at home, I would say. I think after 10 years staying at home, being at home with parents, and I was actually looking good until November, but then things went like a landslide. When I came back to Hyderabad, down with COVID, and then to go and play a tournament was kind of really tough with the situations, and with the physical fitness I had. I think it was near to impossible to play a Super 1000 event, I would say. And frankly, I was not in a position to play. But then, considering the situations, the way things were happening, say not having any of the contracts or any of the deals on paper, it was really important for me to go out there and play an event and make sure that I'm out there at the circuit, and just wanted to get the feel of the tournament also, and I think that was really important. So I think that's how it went. But I think the way I played in Thailand, I think I was very much proud of what I actually could do. The whole process was tough because post-COVID, I thought saying 2 weeks of quarantine and you are done and dusted, and then again you'll be back on court. But I was totally mistaken. Things were totally tough, and when I came back to the court, I realized that okay, this thing is bad. It hits your body in a very different way, and you don't realize, or you don't know how to plan such kind of an event, because obviously this is the first time you are getting affected by a COVID, and I think 95% of the time you are out by an injury, and then you come back and you know, okay, these are the things I need to take care of. But with COVID, I was clueless. I mean, I didn't know how to push the first week, how to push the second week, and had absolutely no idea what to do. And yeah, I think, and going to Thailand, I thought the first week would be fine, but then the ribs started paining very heavily after COVID, and I could hardly breathe for a very long time. And I was playing rallies against all these guys for say 5 minutes, 6 minutes, and I was never playing a 20 minutes game or a 1 hour match. And the first match was against Lee Zijia, and I was like, I was pretty much confused on how to take this. But then the way I was playing badminton, I was just extremely happy with the way I was playing, because I was thinking if I could have been a little bit more fit, then I would have played much better, and the conditions were good for me. And I've always felt that the game is always there, and it just physically I'm always behind. So against Lee Zijia also, I was very, very comfortable. I don't know, I was feeling very comfortable, and but towards the second game end, I understood the fact that okay, the ribs are not allowing me to breathe and get back to the game. And the game slipped off, and the next 1 week there was no practice absolutely for me. I was advised to rest. I was advised not to play badminton for the next 1 week, so that we can give some rest to ribs. So I was wondering, why am I even staying in Thailand, and why am I even trying to play the next tournament? But then the reality was we could not leave the bubble for a certain period of time. And I thought, okay, then anyways, we'll play one more tournament and finish it off and see. And that's how the second tournament happened. And I would say surprising again. I never thought I could play a 3 games against Christy Jonathan and win against him in such a bad condition. But the game was totally. I was able to control the game, and yeah, next day against Darren, I felt Darren is always a tricky player, and I think I played how much ever I could, but tactically or physically, I was not up there. That was the only reason to fail. But I think the way I played, I was kind of shocked, because I never thought I could sustain a 1 hour match, or I thought more than say 20 minutes was a big achievement for me. But then playing 1 hour against top 10 guys was tough, and I think my body could take it. So I was really happy with the way I performed. I don't know how people think, but then this was the reality, and I was totally happy with the way things went. And I knew that I just need to be physically 40 to 50% better, and which I was actually in the month of November before coming to Hyderabad. I was totally good. I was feeling very, very good. But yeah, these things happen, and you have to find a way to come back each and every time.
I think you should take this in your stride. I think we had this chat that I think in terms of percentage, you were 50 or 60% at your physical level. I think you should take a lot of pride in this performance, and hopefully you go upwards and onwards from here. Talking about drama, there was this drama which happened in the first tournament.
Yeah.
And then there have been a lot of news saying that this happened, that happened. What exactly happened? And from you going to the hospital, how did the whole the COVID test, the false positive, how did that happen stage by stage? Can you let our listeners go through what you went through?
So first of all, I think I'm sure 90% of them are not aware of how COVID works or how the COVID virus works. And obviously, I was also not aware unless I got affected with COVID. And post that, what actually is after 10 days of having a medication, or after having 12 days of isolation, you are you can supposedly you can go out. I mean, that's what the science says. And but the problem is, once you are affected by COVID, then you have dead cells in your system, which can be in your system for more than, say, 8 to 12 weeks, or in between that range. And whenever you do an RT-PCR test, and there are very high chances of you having a positive result because of the dead cells. So that's what actually happened to me and Saina, I would say, in Thailand, because we did the first two, because we had done test here also 2 times before traveling, which all came negative. We did there also 2 tests before the first tournament, which also came negative. But unfortunately, the test which we did just before the match day came positive, and it was tough telling them, saying that I had COVID and this is my dead cell, which can be shown up. And unfortunately, it is very tough to find, or probably if you have antibodies, that means that's what the doctor says, that if you have antibodies, then for 3 or 4 months of time, you are very, very less to get affected by a new strain of, or a same strain of COVID virus, is what the doctors say. So that means if you have antibodies, then it's your dead blood, say the dead cells, which actually shows up in the test results. So yeah, so this is what happened, where our tests were positive, and we were asked to go to the hospital on the day, and luckily I had the next day match. But then I was told that I'm positive, and I saying my entry would be withdrawn from both the tournaments, and we need to be isolated in the hospital, or we need to be in the hospital for 14 days, is what they initially said. Then there was a lot of drama happening, which we were not aware of, because we were not given any of the proofs which stated, saying that my retest was negative, or they did my same sample, which they said that it came negative. And that was a lot of confusion, which I also don't know, which I'm wondering now also, okay, what happened. But this is what happened. And but by the end of the day, say at 7 o'clock, they had a meeting with the doctors, with all the doctors, saying what can be done with this, because our antibodies were positive. So they finally allowed us to play, because they said this can be a old dead cell which is showing in the in the result, and we can let them play. But but from morning till evening, me and Saina was wondering what to do, and there's a lot of speculations happening all over internet, all over Twitter, all over my WhatsApp. I could hardly text anybody. I know there were a lot of them who were texting me what's happening, but then to make everyone understand, it's a big process. So I came back at 9:30, and I think I just crashed. I thought I had a match the next day morning, but then eventually when I got up, I came to know that my match has been shifted to late night. So that was also surprising. The fact all these things were happening without much of clarity, and I thought we could have got more clarity, at least in between, where things were not communicated rightly. And if things were communicated rightly, probably the stress levels would have been a little bit less. So
Yeah, I think to sum up the last 12 months, like the hashtags that are doing the rounds, badminton is back, and the courts are definitely calling, and we shuttlers are excited. But yes, there has been a lot of drama, false positives, quarantines, bio bubbles. This is now the new normal, and you had to unfortunately experience all of it. You were really fit post the lockdown, and then just when it was time to compete, you had this bout of COVID, and so a couple of things that I wanted to highlight here is that one is, of course, that muscle memory. You had trained and you were fit, and you had this serious bout, but when it was actually time to compete, muscle memory is a wonderful thing, and we all saw the way you won those close matches and you hung in there. So hats off for that. And the second thing, I mean, is the fact that sport is so unpredictable, like life. In terms of you think you have everything under control, but at the last minute, something like you getting COVID, or you a false positive coming up just when it was pre-match day. But these are the things that as an athlete, I think we need to be ready for. You have to constantly be ready to adjust and adapt to the situation that arises. So on that note, I think, where do you see yourself placed at present? I mean, you've competed after a very, very long time, and you've seen how you are placed physically, mentally. What does the path ahead look like for you?
I think it's a long process. I mean, if I have to compare, I think physically I'm totally not satisfied with the way things have gone. I think we are way below when we compare with the physical fitness of other athletes. When you compare Victor Axelsen, or when you compare say someone like Chao Tin Chen, I think they're physically much superior to us. I think game-wise, we have always been good, I would say. The Indian players, skill-wise, we have always been up there. But I think physically, we need to really, really work hard. We need to put a lot of it's not just on-court physical stuff. I think it's a lot of if we compare with the physical attributes of the top 10 players out there in the world, I think they are doing much more things off court to maintain their physical fitness. And I think a lot of credit goes to the way Victor has been handling his entire body, and Chao Tin Chen. And I think they have a specific team to take care of each and everything. If you see Taizu, if you see Marin, they all have a specific team, and I think that's lacking in our system, obviously. And as an individual, I'm trying to get in or trying to put effort in doing all those things, but I think we all have a limit to do all that. But to compete against the world's best, you will have to find different ways to have that improvement in your game. And I think that is the only difference over there, where if you want to beat them. And so for me, if you ask me, I think the journey is long, where the first major first major
step.
Yeah, the first major step is to play 6 months or 1 year without any break. And I think if I do that, I think I can get a lot of things in place, whether it's physically, whether it's mentally, or whatever it is. I think a lot of things will come in place once my body is able to do that. But unfortunately, I've not been able to do that in the last couple of years. So there's a lot of breaks, and it's tough to improve when you have breaks. So you're always trying to come back, and you're always trying to manage things with those breaks, and that is never going to help. So I think the players who are able to do that, who are able to continuously practice, I think it's a very big advantage for them, where they don't have anything else to worry about. And the only things which they have to do is to think how to improve your game. But for me, the first issue is to try and sort out things which is going around, and wondering when I have to go and take a next MRA. That is which is in my mind each and every day. So that needs to be at least get better in the coming years. Obviously, it's going to be a big hardship, because obviously you are getting older, and things are going to be in a much different way in the next couple of years. But this is how sports is. I mean, some people are blessed to play continuously, some are not. So, but some are putting that much effort to get that 5-10%, which is
Yeah.
I think which I'm trying to learn from all these top players, where they are not where they are not worrisome about the financial aspect on what needs to be done for the game, but they know that if they put that extra effort, that is going to show up in their game. And I think that's
Yeah.
what exactly is happening with someone like Marin, Victor, because look at their bodies. I mean, they're just flying on court. So that just need a different kind of a training program, and it needs to be totally specific. So that's why they are able to play well. So, and I think a lot of credit goes to the Danish men's singles
Yeah. Yeah.
team, the way they have been able to do it. I think a lot of credit goes to Kenneth. I think I think we all must have seen how their multi-schedule looks like, and it's all different for each and every player. It's different
Yep.
for Anders and different for Victor Axelsen, and different for Vittingus. I don't think we have done that anywhere in the last 5-6 years. So I think that's where they are able to perform really, really well. And there's a lot of focus for each and every single player for their team. And I think at this level, you need that extra bit of change in that training aspect. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of credit goes to Kenneth. It's not easy to see two Danish players back-to-back finals. It's not because of luck. I mean, it's because they have put in that much effort, and individually also they are putting so much effort, and I think that credit needs to goes to them. And I think slowly we also need to try something on those lines, and physically also each and everyone is different. I mean, everybody's bodies are different. You cannot do a group training and expect yourself to be on the top 5, top 6. No, I don't think. I mean, that's a very personal this thing from me, but I think as a sporting nation, we need to find that balance where each and every body is different and each and every sports person is different. So we need to mold accordingly. And obviously we are late. Obviously, as a player, I am late to understand all these things.
On that point, actually, Danish players have played 4 consecutive finals. So at the Denmark Open, Antonsen and Gemke played the finals.
Yeah.
Then Victor played 2. Victor played 3 finals. Vittingus played 1 finals, and Antonsen won the tour finals. That's incredible. I think that's the way forward. Personalized training programs. Not the whole 100% of the program, but at least 40% of the program. I think that is the way forward. But there is one question which everybody is asking me, or everybody wants to ask you. Macha, where are the reels? Reels दिख रहे रहे Instagram में, मतलब क्या?
So basically what happened was, once we went to Thailand, and when I got back, my Instagram is not working. So what happened was, in Thailand apparently there are no reels, okay, in that location. Okay, and once I got back, my Instagram is still in the Thailand location. There's never been to, so I cannot see any reels. I cannot post any stories. I mean, I cannot post any of the stories which someone else has posted or about me or whatever it is. So I cannot do anything on Instagram basically. So it's in a mess basically. So yeah, so I don't think I would be on reels pretty soon.
Zuckerberg भाई कुछ तो करो, मतलब
I know, यार.
सोशल मीडिया स्टार वी हैव गॉट
TikTok
यू,
बंद, अभी रील्स भी बंद,
रील्स भी
क्या
बंद
हो
कर दो,
रहा है?
मतलब कुछ तो छोड़ दो.
अभी बस तन्वी का रील्स देख के I'm getting motivated.
जिंदा आज का रील देखा क्या? जिंदा.
No, I can't even listen to the
जिंदा है?
music. I can't even listen to
Oh,
the reels
नहीं,
music because not in the
आज
location.
तो जिद्दी दिल था, जिद्दी दिल.
जिद्दी
जिंदा.
दिल, सॉरी जिद्दी
Did
दिल.
they? Yeah, straight smash and cross net. Straight smash, cross net.
जिद्दी है दिल. Yeah. On that super funny note, we take a break here. On the other side of the break, we'll talk about HS's change in diet and his emotional quotient to the game. Stay tuned, guys. You're listening to the Millennial Athlete with Tanvi and Shlok. Welcome back. You're listening to the Millennial Athlete with Tanvi and Shlok. We still have HS Pranoy in conversation with us. HS, this is a topic which we've discussed for a very long time now. It's diet. You've been you are a hardcore Malayali, and you have had to remodel certain things in your diet after your gut issue. And can you give the listeners what is it that happened to you, and what are you focusing on eating now?
Yeah, so unfortunately, gut issue is still there, and I'm kind of struggling now also. But yeah, I think it's how much you put effort to make it better. Also, that also is a big question where you tend to go out of diet whenever you are traveling, and you have to be very, very dedicated for it. You have to be very much disciplined for following such a diet plan, and I'm not one among them. I know that, but I'm still trying. So it's just about getting better. But yeah, I think there's been a lot of changes in the last couple of years where uh, a lot of things were not good for my gut. Something like milk or eggs, and it was really tough for me whenever I used to travel for tournaments because the initial breakfast used to be bacon, eggs, mushroom, milk, and all four of my favorite things, but I could not have it. So
I remember like when we were at the Sudhirman Cup qualifiers, you wouldn't even come for breakfast,
yeah,
and you would
I was
just
not
bring
in.
your smoothie.
Yeah, I used to get the smoothie, this thing, and I used to be in the room, and I remember in the All England because whenever you go to Europe, you get a really good English breakfast, right? And obviously, bacon is kind of a weakness, and I literally used to tell myself saying that no, don't go down, just be in the room. You'll manage it. So for the initial 6-7 months, it was like that. I was not having breakfast only. But then slowly, I thought I will start including those. But then again, during the lockdown, things were bad. I was totally out of the diet, and you know how our schedule was like, where you sleep at 2 o'clock, you get up at 12 o'clock, and then the whole day starts at 12 where and you train for 2-3 weeks during the lockdown, and then the motivation just goes way down, and then it hits the rock bottom, and then you mess up everything again, and then again you start from the scratch, and it's a process again.
Yeah.
And I think that happened like 3-4 times during the lockdown itself, this full range of motion. So
Cycle.
Yeah,
this
then
full cycle.
chocolate, Oreo, all
Chocolate
these
Oreo, you are having
Oreo.
everything possible because you know that, say, in the next 5 months, there is nothing, like nothing is going to happen in the next 5 months. But then that eventually kind of messed up my
Yeah.
entire system again. So since August, September, again, I have been on the diet. So yeah, I'm trying to eat healthy, and I think the biggest challenge is when you go for tournaments, when you lose your first rounds. That's where the biggest challenge comes in. Till there, I think the process is easy, where you say to yourself, "Okay, I have a match, I have a tournament, I have this and that." So it's very easy to follow something because you're always oriented, or you're always oriented with your performance, saying, "If I don't do this, I won't perform." But then when you do all these things and then you don't perform, that's when things go
Yeah. Yeah.
down.
Very true. Very true.
Very, and I think that is not just with the diet, but I think with each and everything with the game. And I think I've told to so many also about Shlok about this because I've seen him, because whenever you lose first round, you're like, fuck, next day I cannot train. But I've seen this guy go and train. I mean, that's a very tough thing to do, but somehow he has been able to do over the years. Now also he's able to do. I think that's a very good quality. I mean, everybody doesn't have it. I mean, in the top level of badminton also you don't have it, but whoever has it, they have always done good. I've seen Bo, I've seen Mogensen. I think I've always seen Bo doing that. I think even though he was to the end of his career also, I used to see him every single day on the gym, and every single day he used to work. Even though he used to lose first round, second rounds, I think he used to do that. So when you do all these off-court things, and when it doesn't work on court, I
Yeah.
think that's where your discipline comes in, and where you have to trust yourself that maybe not now, probably after 6 months, things might change. So I think that trust you will have to keep working on each and every tournament, and I'm kind of lagging behind that. So I try each and every time whenever I go for tournaments that I don't mess it up completely, and get back to track as soon as possible, and work towards it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, yes, of course, this is a very, very tough time for you, but just to kind of reflect on some of your biggest achievements and something, that maybe can put you in a better mind space is that you're part of, the elite club where you've beaten everyone. Dreams to beat these players, and you've actually beaten them. So it's Taufik Hidayat, Chen Long, Chong Wei, Lindan. You've beaten them all. So I think it's time to probably reflect on some of those good wins, draw motivation, inspiration, because that is where you belong. You belong to that league, and it's just a matter of time before you see yourself through this period. But
Yeah.
yeah, go
You
ahead.
can continue with the question.
No,
go
go
ahead,
ahead.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No. I mean, I thought there is rest of the question which is coming. But still, yeah, I think it's been a while since those things have happened. But yeah, I think as a player, when you start off playing badminton or any other sport, I think these are the things which you wish for. Or I think I've told in so many interviews also before that that we used to watch all these guys on TV, and we used to put CDs, and I used to tell Dad, please get some CDs of these guys, and we used to get 5 or 6, and that 5 or 6 used to run the whole year, and you just know what's going to happen the next point. So that was a time back in 2004, 2005. And obviously that was the time when I started playing badminton also, and Taufik won 2004 Olympics, and he was a big, inspiration, or probably a big idol kind of a thing, where he was very flashy, and that kind of made a spark, saying that, oh, this guy is very flashy, I want to play like him. And and then probably after 10 years you actually come to the circuit, and when you see these guys playing live, it's a total different feeling, and I'm sure all of you guys must have had that feeling when you see them for the first time, saying, oh shit, these guys are good. I mean, these guys are really good.
Good is an understatement.
Yeah, I mean, the good means how good they are when you say that good. These guys are good. So that's what I mean. I remember in 2011, 2012, when I saw these guys on the first time, I was like, no chance I'm going to get even 5 points. And then a couple of years later, then you get a chance to play, and first time was, I think, Lee Chong Wei in India Open, and I was just praying that I don't get
इज्जत ना
thrashed.
उतारे इज्जत ना उतारे
I
कोर्ट
don't
पे.
get thrashed. Yeah, because I remember he was beating everyone like 21-5, 21-6. Just before that, obviously, I beat Taufik on that same tournament. But that was a total different feeling, because I remember Taufik playing against Kashyap in the side court where I was playing the first round. And for the first time, I was thinking, please, Taufik, please win, because I knew that I will somehow beat Supanyu. I remember the first round also, Supanyu, and Taufik won that match, and I was like, fuck, now this is the chance I have to, now this is the chance. And I totally remember I hardly slept that night, and slept at 1, slept at 3, slept at 5, woke up 6, 7, and I was watching TV, I was listening to music. I mean, so much excitement for that match. And and the game happened, and I won, and obviously he was towards the end of his career, so I could win that game. But still, I remember a rally where his strings were out, 21-20, he had the game point, his strings were out, and completely knew that he's going for the first game and he will leave the second game and try again for the third game. And 21-20, first stroke, he snaps his strings, and he plays an entire rally with that strings, and he does the same dribble, comes and does the same dribble. And I'm worrying, why is this dribble coming like this now also? And he plays a whole rally of 15-16 strokes, and then somehow I score a point. I was like, shit. And I'm becoming a bigger fan at that moment.
While playing, yeah.
And it's a very tough line where you make yourself as a fan, you make yourself as a competitor. And I made this mistake when I played against Lindan. I mean, first time when I played against Lindan, I made this mistake where I am totally in awe of his strokes, where he plays a cross court. I was like, wow, what a shot! Oh, badya, badya. and and you're just enjoying that process of admiring him, admiring the opponent,
And getting thrashed.
and getting thrashed. I lost 13 and 14, but I was totally happy saying I played against Lindan. So from that transition to a place where you beat these guys, I think one of the biggest highlights of my career. Obviously, I never thought I would play against these guys because I was not at all a natural player when I started playing, and to come till this far, I think so many of them plays badminton in our country, and to be one among them, to beat all of them was is one of the biggest dream, because you only focus on things which are not happened to you, but and you forget about things which has happened, which you never thought would happen. So I think it's very important you cherish all those moments and think that God has given you all these things. So much better things are what do you say, going to come
store.
in the next
Yeah.
going to come in the next couple of years, and you always work hard, and these victories always gives you a sense of belief that if we can beat these guys when these guys are at good positions, then things are much easier right now. So that always gives a positive impact to you, and that's where you belong. That's where the game you had. If you don't have the game, you can never beat these guys. Even if it's physically, if you are up there, if you are, but you need the game. I mean, you need the tactics behind it, and you need the game to completely beat this guy. And if it was once, then I could have still told that have had happened. Luckily, but then Chongwei also I could beat 2 times, Lindan also 2 times, and so I felt I think it was just because the game was there, and probably just the physically I'm not up there. That's why I'm not able to consistently produce that kind of a game. So yeah, I think we just need to work continuously, and probably in the coming days it will come back.
There's absolutely no doubt that you have the game. It's all about being physically fit and having that self belief once again that ki boss, I belong at this level. And to sum this conversation up, you were at Thailand Open watching a Tawfiq Hidayat match. I remember commenting on one of your stories saying that कि अभी भी Tawfiq के videos देख रहे हो. And you're like, those are some evergreen videos. And you even told me that कल match में देखना मैं 1-2 मार के आता हूँ.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing which I don't do it very regularly, but then I think I feel good while watching pretty much old videos of all these guys, and I always wonder why don't we have players who are so flashy these days. So
It's all become percentage, right? It's all become
it's all
percentage.
it's all become a very defensive game and an attacking game. Obviously, people want to win. At the end of the day, you just want to win. That is what matters. Style and the rest of the things are all secondary. But obviously, that aura of the game used to be totally different when these guys used to play Chongwei, Tawfiq, and Lindan and Peter Gate, where it was very much attractive. The game was a lot of what do you say, flashy strokes and trick shots, and you hardly find trick shot these days where obviously everybody is fit enough to pick everything up, but then still you feel that something is missing. So that's why I always love to watch all these guys playing say the old videos and things. So the strokes keeps coming when you start watching those videos, then you feel like doing it on the court, and that's how you rediscover the strokes which you had forgotten a couple of years back or 5 years back. I totally forgotten so many strokes how to play, and then suddenly when you watch a video you feel like, oh, I used to play all these strokes, I need to go and try tomorrow. So these are very, very small things which you can do, and sometimes it works. I mean, sometimes couple of matches you can win in that 2 strokes, and you never know, things will change.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think moving to the last part of our conversation, we all know how much you observe players. You that's something that you also mentioned.
Today
is one of
smashed
your
it cross.
He's already analyzed my training session based on one reel.
I was analyzing Tanvi's gym session also, saying, "Oh, okay, this is the thing which he's doing to make her straight smash and so
Chalo,
on."
the intent behind the reel is like accomplished.
Yeah.
मैं भी ऐसा सरप्राइज्ड कि मतलब क्या बात है, तन्वी रील
फाड़ रही है.
Yeah.
जिद्दी हो गया. मतलब मैं वो देख के मैं बोला आज 45 मिनट ट्रेडमिल में भागे. Continue, Tanvi.
No, I mean, you've always mentioned that's been one of your strengths. So, I mean, any takeaways from the Thailand Open from, having observed all the players, women's singles, men's singles?
No, I didn't watch any matches. Frankly, I
Focused
didn't
on
watch any
yourself.
matches. No. Because I don't know. I think it's a very weird answer, I know, but this time I haven't watched a lot of matches. I think the only one player which I was watching was Victor, because obviously I just wanted to know what things you were doing different from the court, and I think the rest of everybody was looking almost similar.
Yeah. Victor
apart
was
from-
looking like a level up till the finals against Anders, but he was looking a little superior to apart from Ginting Anthony, who was leading 8-4 in the first tournament. I didn't see anybody like threaten him until Anders.
Yeah, obviously, I mean the levels he was playing was literally high, and to play 3 tournaments back-to-back finals is unbelievable achievement, especially in a singles event. With the amount of players who are there, and physically you cannot drop your physical level each and every, or say any of the single days. So in that way, I think I was only watching Victor. Apart from that, no women's singles this time and no doubles this time. I think I haven't watched anyone, but I think I was watching a little bit of Marin also, a little bit, not much. But then she has been super fast, and she has been had that extra one gear. I felt each and every time. So I think apart from this, no matches this time. But generally I observe a lot. But the sad part is I'm not able to understand what's going wrong in my game. That is obviously going to happen because you don't know what's happening to you, but you are very much aware of things which are happening surrounding you. So that has been the biggest plus point. Obviously, when you say if you have to beat top guys, that level of observation needs to be there, and I think coaches who have that level of observation, they only can make their players prepare according to those kind of opponents. And I think for me, whenever I've played against top players, bigger players, good matches, it's not about how the game has gone, it's about how I have watched them over the years, and I know certain shots are coming, and this juncture this shot is going to come, or this juncture this shot is going to not come. So all these kind of predictions you can only do if you do observe. So so for women singles also, I think I would be a very good coach later on. I don't know about men's singles, but then I think for women singles, I think I can be a very, very good coach. Because I think I have that observation kind of a skill where I always feel, why don't these players do this against these guys?
True.
It's very easy to tell, but then when it comes to my game, obviously it's tough to execute because execution is different. Some certain players are able to execute, so for them, it is very important what they actually do. So let's see in the coming years if we can do something on that lines, and if this observation factor helps me to say get into something in the future. Yeah.
Coach HSP has a nice ring to it. Coach HSP.
Hopefully someday.
Okay. On that hopeful note, we come to an end of another episode of the Millennial Athlete with Tanvi and Shlok. If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to all of them on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow IVM on their social media handles, that is at the rate IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to reach out to me, please do. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter with the handle SHLOKH95.
And you can
find him
reach out to
anywhere.
me.
You can find me everywhere.
You can write to me on at tanvilad93 on Instagram and Twitter.
And HS, where can we find you? We know we can find you, but please tell us your handles also, so that our listeners will go and follow you.
I'm not having reels, so I'm not using Instagram, so don't follow me there.
Okay.
I
Until
think
then, yeah.
I think HS is just missing TikTok. The Mohanlal and I don't know what all videos are missing. But I think you'll be back soon.
Yeah.
The mojo will come back once his reels start, I think.
Hopefully Instagram lets me do some reels. So
Until then, ciao. We shall be back, and Pranoy shall be back on Instagram very soon, and we will be back with another fresh episode of the Millennial Athlete with Tanvi and Shlok. Thank you, everyone.
thank you guys. Yeah.